Sit that right there, don't go nowhere, little baby gon' shake that, 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 shit, yeah, I like that, bring that right here, sit that right there, don't go nowhere, say yeah, I like that, bring that right here, sit that right there, don't go nowhere, baby gon'.
Welcome back. We back with another reaction video. Today we are reacting to Atlanta's Most Dangerous Crew, how they ran up millions, robbing, gunning, and more celebs. Let's get right into it. This is Swamp Stories video.
Welcome back to another episode of Swamp Stories. For this video, we cover Atlanta's Most Dangerous Crew, a group of suburban men that the state of Georgia is desperately trying to put away. But before we get into it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new. You can also follow the Instagram page as well. So let's get into it. When you think of Atlanta hip-hop, usually a few places come to mind. You have East Atlanta Zone 6, which is home to Gucci Mane, Future, and 21 Savage. Then you have the West Side, which is home to Lil Baby, T.I., and many more. Both of these are actual Atlanta, also known as Fulton County. Well, back in the day, Atlanta was a very poor city, and these areas were filled with public housing. The areas were filled with problems, and the projects were falling apart as well. In fact, in the 80s and 90s, the east and west sides of Atlanta were some of the worst neighborhoods in the country. However, Atlanta was chosen to host the 1996 Olympics, which prompted the city to make a change. Ahead of the Olympics, it was decided that all of the public housing in Atlanta would be torn down and sold off to private investors. So in 1995, the process began, with one project after the next being vacated and torn down. The entire process took 16 years, and it was finally completed in 2011. Because of federal law, the former residents could use a Section 8 voucher which they could use on a new apartment or house. The resident would apply for a market rate apartment and then ask the landlord to accept their Section 8 voucher. In states like California, the landlord is legally required to accept the voucher, but in Georgia, nothing is guaranteed. As a result, no landlords in Atlanta were accepting the vouchers, so the residents had to keep looking further and further. Well, coincidentally, at this time, developers built more and more suburbs outside of Atlanta. They expected a major influx of new residents after the Olympics, but that just never happened. Because of this, many of these suburbs were vacant and desperate for new residents. So cities like Panthersville, Riverdale, and Forest Park began accepting all of these Section 8 tenants. The hope was that moving the project residents to the suburbs would change their lives for the better. The kids would no longer be exposed to the streets and they would be enrolled in better schools as well. At first, this was the case as families assimilated to suburban life. But then, for whatever reason, many of these suburbs began taking a turn for the worst. By the mid-2000s, Clayton County was being claimed as the hood and Decatur was being called Zone 6. Crime went up in these places and many families decided to move even further away from the city of Atlanta. And finally, that takes us to where this story begins. About 30 minutes east of Atlanta, you have the small city of Stone Mountain, Georgia. This is your typical American suburb just like any other. Private gates, cul-de-sacs, two-story homes, and lawns in between. It was designed this way to keep problems out and to ensure a quiet and peaceful life for its residents. But then in the 2010s, a wave of Section 8 began rolling in. Slowly but surely, the city began to change, and by 2016, police say the first official gang formed in Stone Mountain. Everything began with two men. First, you have a man named Delmonte Stilley, also known as RX Hecht, and second is his best friend named Zion Martinez, also known as RX Peso. The duo jumped into the streets in 2015, and by the looks of it, they stacked a whole lot of cash. In 2016, the suburban trappers began rapping with another local star named Hood Rich Pablo Juan. Within a few months of rapping, they were already touching millions of views. They had swag, their own unique flow, and everyone on the east side of Atlanta was tuned in. Pablo Juan, Peso, and Hector were truly idols on the east side of Atlanta, even to the point where Selma middle school students tried to book Peso and Hector to perform at their middle school dance. However, the principal directed them not to come because he figured that they were a bad influence on the youth. Regardless, the RX duo decided to go anyways. Many of the parents and staff were disgusted, and they decided to take this matter seriously.
Like, bro, to be honest with you, I thought it was wild when Soulja Boy came to my middle school. It was amazing. It was an amazing experience, but like, bro, why Soulja Boy? Should the kids be listening to this?
Ultimately, this earned RX Hecht a trip to DeKalb County Jail. Well, as the years went by, the rapper's influence kept growing on the east side, but along the way, their street activities elevated as well. They wanted to gain power and have a feared presence throughout Atlanta. To do this, the members began recruiting members to their new drug-rich crew, also known as RX. Over the next few years, they grew larger and larger, with new members stamped with an RX username and an RX chain. By 2020, the squad had grown to over 50 members, all ready to crash out for money and respect. The purpose of Drug Rich was to get money together and elevate to the top. However, when you're living this kind of life, things can always take a left turn. July 6, 2020. An original RX member named William Moore Irvin and his friend Andrew Miller decide they're gonna trade blowers. So at 5 p.m., Andrew Miller and his friend arrive at the Ashland Pines apartments where William happens to live. At 5:05 p.m., Andrew texts William to meet him outside. So William walks outside to meet him and they take a look at each other's pieces. Then Andrew asks him if he can test it out to make sure it works. William agrees and tells him to go ahead. So that's when Andrew walks up to a tree and aims. It clicks, and that's when William decides to make an unfortunate decision. He points his at Andrew and tells him to give up everything he has. Andrew refuses, and that's when William makes his horrible decision. He then realizes he needs to get away but that he doesn't have a car. So he grabs Andrew's keys and phone and hops in his Toyota Corolla. He speeds away and pulls up to a fellow RX member's apartment. After seeing the unfortunate incident on the news, he decides to go on Instagram Live and celebrate. All of this while being in possession of Andrew's phone and having his car out front. So before the live could even end, police were at his door. This was Stone Mountain's introduction to RX as it was put on the front of the newspaper. The locals were shocked that such a thing could happen in their community. And unfortunately, it wouldn't be the last, as police say that it sparked off a rivalry in the area. Police believe that the incident sparked off a rivalry with a group of guys who call themselves Blitz in the nearby Gwinnett County, and within the next couple of months, Blitz would retaliate on RX and Stone Mountain. In fact, over the next year, multiple incidents would take place which spiked the crime rate by 60% in 2020. The formerly safe suburb was now a place where residents were scared to go outside, and sadly in 2021 this would continue. August 29th, 2021, RX members get the location of a Blitz member named Jeremiah Preto, a resident of Duluth, Georgia. This is a wealthy suburb located 30 minutes north of Stone Mountain. Regardless of the distance, a group of RX members get in their car and head up the interstate. At 8 p.m., they arrive in Jeremiah's neighborhood and drive around looking for him. And at 8:45, they spot him on Boggs Road. This was the very first incident of this kind in Duluth in a long time, so police put their whole effort into figuring it out. They were able to figure out the rivalry involved and they suspected a member named RX Yano to be the perpetrator. However, since then, there have been no updates on this specific case. Regardless, a lot of RX members were not down with this because it was simply not profitable. And as you know, their main goal was always money, money, and more money. So the next phase of RX would be completely different. There was no more beef and their entire focus was on stacking money. This attracted new members to join from all over the state of Georgia. Together, the large crew would plan out major licks and always follow through. I kid you not, I've never seen anything like this before. This is the biggest and most intricate robbery crew I've ever seen.
What'd they do?
Everything began in September of 2021 when the crew decided that their main goal was to stack hundreds of thousands of dollars. To do this, members would study the social media pages of local celebrities to find out where they live and when they're out of town. First, they would look through the Hawks, Braves, and Falcons roster to find out the perfect opportunity to strike. That's when they ran across a video online of Falcons wide receiver Calvin Ridley giving a tour of his Atlanta home. Somehow they were able to find his address, and that's when members decided to head over and wait. September 13th, 2021. It's a Monday after getting blown out by the Eagles, and Calvin Ridley is at home with his family. The members notice his car in the driveway, so they wait outside patiently until he leaves. At 3 p.m., the garage opens and Calvin and his family leave. As soon as they turn the corner, the members get out and run up to the house. They kick down the door, run inside with bags and fill them up. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in jewelry, watches, and designer clothing. In just 5 minutes, the members run out with their bags full and hop in the car. They then speed back to Stone Mountain without being caught. At 5 p.m., Calvin Ridley returns home to caution tape around his block and police investigate. He then notices that his front door is kicked down and he begins to panic. The incident shook him up to the point where he decided to take time away from football.
The 26-year-old didn't play in Sunday's game against the Panthers because of a personal matter, and the same day tweeted out that the past few weeks had been challenging, adding, "As much as I'd like to be on the field competing with my teammates, I need to step away from football at this time and focus on my mental well-being."
It wasn't the material possessions, but rather the thought of his family being home when this could have happened. Unfortunately, because he didn't release any specifics, a lot of football fans criticized him for being soft. Little did they know the situation he went through would take a toll on any man.
Look, man. To all the radical ass fans of sports, bro, y'all be on dick. These are people just like you're a person, my nigga. Like, they go through things too. What the fuck? What be wrong with y'all niggas? You know, like, realistically, what be wrong with y'all niggas? Damn, bro, that nigga messed up my parlay, bro. Damn, bro, that nigga went 2 for 10, bro. Like, bro, you don't know what the hell he dealing with, bro. Tighten up.
Not to mention that the guys who did it would not be caught for a long time. And of course, this was so profitable that the RX members decided to do it again. Over the next 2 days, Daryl and Anthony Dolman would study local celebrities and athletes. However, the members couldn't find any opportunities, so they decided to go with Plan B, driving to the richest part of Atlanta and looking for unoccupied homes. September 18th, 2021. Daryl and...
Because that plan definitely, well, I mean, you look for unoccupied homes, but that plan... definitely more risky than lying in wait with actual information and knowing what's going on. Like, you randomly popping up at his crib, like, all right, buddy.
Anthony drive from Stone Mountain to Buckhead at 1 p.m. They arrive on Bismarck Road at 2:15 and they discover a house with no car in the driveway. So the two members hop out, kick the door down, and run inside. But right there is the owner of the house, and that's when things go left. Bam! The members sprint to the car after realizing the decision they made, and they drive back to Stone Mountain. Thankfully, the homeowner was okay, but the incident definitely shook him up. For Daryl and Anthony, you would expect them to lay low after this close call. But nope, instead they would start rolling with the deeper squad. This time, Daryl Johnson would call up 4 fellow RX members to tag along. Together, the members would plan, and a week later, they would go on their mission. September 26, 2021. It's a Sunday evening in North Atlanta, one of the city's wealthiest neighborhoods. And here comes the squad of 5 RX members looking for the perfect house. And after driving around for an hour, they spot a great opportunity. A big old house with no car in the driveway. So that's when Daryl reverses in and the 5 men hop out. This time no one is home and the members are able to fill up their bags and get away safely. Apparently this was the major score, even bigger than the Calvin Ridley one. So as a result, quite a few RX members wanted to tag along on the next mission. So Daryl Johnson would make his master plan over the next 5 days. And that takes us to October 1st, 2021. A group of 11 RX members in 3 separate cars head to a mansion in Buckhead. Daryl chose this specific house because a few days earlier he noticed expensive cars in the driveway. Well, at 2 p.m. the members hop the gate and sprint up to the house. They then kick the door down and rush inside, and that's when they realize that the home is occupied. The members panic and direct everyone in the house to not dial 911. They continue to fill up bags, and that's when a member notices a Mercedes S-Class and an Audi RQ8 in the backyard. So that's when 2 members...
Why don't these big ass mansions have security systems? What is going on here? Bro, what?
Demand the keys to the cars. After ransacking their home, the members drive away in their cars as well. The whole thing took 15 minutes in and out, and police were not able to catch them. This was one of the largest scores in Georgia history, and Atlanta police knew that something was up. Coincidentally, the crew would chill out for the next few months while they tried to sell off the items. The process took a few months until the crew was ready to show off their newfound wealth. On February 21st, 2022, famous YouTube vlogger Miko Worldwide would shoot a drug-rich vlog in Stone Mountain. In the video, RX members would show off wads of cash, expensive jewelry, and $100,000 cars. And in the comments, thousands of people said that they're suburban and fake gangsters. LOL. All of this made for one of the most entertaining hood vlogs in YouTube history. But it also caught the attention of local authorities, who began watching closely. To make matters worse, a few weeks later, RX members would drop a music video where they talk about kicking doors and stacking money. Perfect. All of this while being closely monitored by DeKalb, Gwinnett, and Fulton County. The money train would continue, but this time it would be led by a member from way out of town. Let me introduce you to a man named Kenzel Walker, also known as Kick Door. Kenzel grew up in the small town of Albany, Georgia, hours away from the Atlanta area. Well, somehow he got connected to RX in 2022 and decided to go on his missions alone. This way there was no sharing profits. And that takes us to March 27th, 2022. Kenzel drives out to the wealthy suburbs of Sandy Springs. On Amberridge Trail, he notices a beautiful house with the front gate open. So he parks his car, runs up, and kicks the door down. Boom, right there is the homeowner. So that's when Kenzel makes a terrible decision. Thankfully, the man was okay and Kenzel was able to get away. However, this would inspire other members to go on missions alone as well. This time it would be a young member named Zaire Robinson, whose rap sheet is long and dates back to 2017. His specialty is taking fancy cars and flipping them on the underground market. And that takes us to April 7th, 2022. At 1 p.m., Zaire takes an Uber from his home in Lilburn all the way to Buckhead, Georgia. There, he walks around wealthy areas with a ski mask looking at 2022. At 1 p.m., Zaire takes an Uber from his home in Lilburn all the way to Buckhead, Georgia. There, he walks around wealthy areas with a ski mask looking for unattended vehicles. And 2 blocks from the fancy Lenox Mall, he spots an unattended 2022 Porsche 911. So he sprints to the car, hops in, and drives it back to Lilburn, Georgia. However, due to new car technology, he was easily caught. At this point, new members were spawning out of nowhere and all crashing out. It was time for the experts to get back to business. 4 reputed members would all get together to plan the biggest lick of them all. First, of course, is Kenzel Walker, but the next 3 members are just as wild. You have Jalen Huff, Terrion Anderson, also known as Bobo, and Jeremy Caldwell, also known as J-Rock. This was the aggressive squad who knew how to get the bag. And first, they would target one of the richest and most famous people in all of Atlanta. This would be Mariah Carey, who resided at a $6 million mansion in Sandy Springs. Because of her known decadent lifestyle, the members knew that there would be a lot of valuable items inside of her home. They wanted to do this right, so for weeks they planned it out. Finally, they found the perfect opportunity when Mariah was out of town. June 27th, 2022. The 4 members hop in 2 cars and head to Sandy Springs. They arrive at the mansion and sit outside to scope it out and make sure that everything is alright. They then hop out of the car and sprint up to the door. They kick it down and begin filling up bags with all kinds of items. And within 10 minutes, they sprint back to the car with filled bags and they drive away. This was a close call as Sandy Springs police arrived just 3 minutes after the members had left.
Another celebrity's home was broken into right here in the metro. Criminals went into singer Mariah Carey's house in Sandy Springs. This happened in late July, just days after Carey posted a photo on social media showing her vacationing in Europe.
When Mariah heard the news, she was furious, especially because this wasn't the first time this happened. In fact, just a year prior, she had moved out of LA for this exact reason.
Looks like Mariah Carey has become the latest celebrity to be targeted.
Like, so you getting too much money? Like, your house empty. Niggas is trying it. You need to move to Wyoming. On God. I ain't never heard of no thugs out there.
Targeted by burglars. TMZ says that thieves broke into Carey's LA area mansion yesterday morning. Police say they got away with about $50,000 worth of purses and sunglasses.
At this point, Mariah was furious as she decided to list her home for sale and move out of Georgia. This right here is why states want to protect rich areas. Because when millionaires and billionaires leave, the state loses all kinds of money in tax revenue. For example, this is why Beverly Hills has the highest funded police force in the nation. Anyways, this was a close call, but the members were able to get away and the money train continued. This time, the members would target a famous actress and reality TV star named Marlo Hampton. After hours of watching her reality show, the members discovered all kinds of information. They discovered all of the fancy things she has in her house, but more importantly, they found out where she lived. In just 2 days, the members already had their plan. July 1st, 2022. The members head to her beautiful home in Sandy Springs. Because of what they saw on social media, they believed that she was out of town. However, Marlo Hampton is downstairs in her bedroom while her nephews are upstairs. At 3 p.m., the members get out of their car and sprint up the stairs. Boom, they kick down the door and run inside. They run around and begin filling up bags, but that's when they notice that her nephews are home. Thankfully, the RX members sprint away and back to the car. This was another close call as Sandy Springs police arrived just 2 minutes after they left. Regardless, Marlo Hampton was shook up from the incident and she wanted to spread awareness.
Real Housewives of Atlanta star Marlo Hampton says she's a real crime victim after the attempted burglary of her Sandy Springs home July 1st that police have now told her is tied to other incidents. She said she went to a panic room, called 911. The suspects who kicked her door and fled, possibly because she yelled. Sandy Springs police were there quickly and she thanks God.
Just thank God that we're covered in the blood of Jesus, and I'm here to share this story with you. But my main concern is I want all the ladies, I want everyone to be aware. If you are posting items, if you do have luxury items, be careful.
Because of the RX crew, this was the new reality for rich Atlanta. Anyone with wealth was now told to never post it on social media. Unfortunately, this advice would not be enough to stop the dangerous crew. This time, J-Rock and other RX members would target the home of one of Atlanta's most famous rappers. This would be Future Hendrix, but after not being able to find his address, they would go to Plan B. After scrolling through social media, they were able to find the address of his baby mom. Coincidentally, the townhome is located directly across the street from Marlo Hampton. For most, this would be a sign not to do it, but for RX, they simply do not care. July 4th, 2022. Because it's a national holiday, the members don't expect anyone to be home. So they run up the stairs and boom, they kick it down. The 4 members run around when they notice that somebody is home. And unfortunately, they would make a terrible decision. Thankfully, the man would be okay, but this definitely shook up the Sandy Springs community once again. At this point, RX was just a danger to the public and they needed to be taken down. However, they would target one more celebrity before it was all said and done. As we all know, in May of 2022, there was the giant YSL RICO. The indictment took down superstar rappers like Young Thug and of course Gunna. Well, when Kenzel Walker heard about the RICO, he thought it was the perfect opportunity to find Gunna's house. You would only assume that the superstar rapper has tons of jewelry and expensive clothes in his house. Well, that's when he would allegedly find one of his homes in Dunwoody, Georgia. July 14th, 2022. Kenzel Walker and Quantavious Hayes arrive to the Perimeter Place area. They then follow a car into the gated community. From there, all we know is that they ran in, filled up bags, and ran out. But this time, right there was Sandy Springs police. Finally, they were able to catch them in the act. And as they say, what goes around comes around too. Not too long after, RX would be hit with one of the largest RICO cases in Georgia history. On August 29, 2022, Fannie Willis announced the drug-rich RICO.
Developing now, we're diving deeper into a major story out of Fulton County. 26 alleged gang members now facing 220 charges for a host of crimes. And it appears the web was untangled in part because of social media. 11 Alive's Hope 4 dug into that 94-page indictment to bring us the details.
Money symbols, and this is in their jewelry and their tattoos, and we see that present here.
Those symbols include the letters RX and Monopoly symbols, and the DA's office used those symbols and the suspects' social media to tie each other together, saying it's proof they knew each other, conspired together, and promoted their enterprise online. Suspect Kenzel Walker, going by Clairvoyant on Facebook, holding money while wearing a Monopoly chain. Walker, one of the suspects accused of breaking into Mariah Carey's home.
They're immediately going to closets. They're immediately going to bedrooms. They know where these high-end items are.
According to this indictment from the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, investigators used rap lyrics and social media to track down some of the members.
Anybody can be at risk, and that's the scary part. And that's why we've tried to tell people, don't post on social media what you don't want the world to see.
Investigators say nearly 20 people listed in the indictment are in custody, while at least 5 remain on the run.
We know who they are. They know who they are, and Our message to them is simply this: come turn yourself in.
Queen or Quan.
Because we're not going to stop until we get you.
I am not going to allow pleas. We are going to find you. We are going to convict you. And we're going to send you to the prison for the rest of your days. And I'm not apologizing for that.
Many people blame the infamous vlog for this, but actually it was never stated in the indictment. Quite a few members were not granted bail and are currently facing life. However, for the alleged leaders Hector and Peso, they're back on the streets of Georgia. This is because they didn't actually do anything. Instead, they're being charged as some sort of leaders for this wild crew. Personally, it doesn't make sense how somebody cannot do anything yet still be charged because of alleged association.
What?
Regardless, this is yet another reminder that this kind of life amounts to absolutely nothing. The fast money may seem cool, but if you do it legally, you'll be laughing to the bank in 10 to 20 years. Like, were the 1 to 2 years of being lit really worth spending the rest of your life behind bars? The answer is no, and this was essentially the end of RX. However, RX Hecht is still putting out music. He's still as hard as ever, but now his music videos are a little bit more lonely.
Deservedly so. He really needed to be in prison. I don't know how you got away with it. So there, that was Atlanta's Most Dangerous Crew, how they ran up millions robbing Gunner. Which, did they get away with robbing Gunner? Because you just put that in the title. They cooked Mariah Carey, though. It's sad to see what's going on. And they've been doing this, so glad they finally got off the streets. Well, that's the end of the video. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, share the video. I'll catch y'all in the next one.
I'm a cowboy, can't stop me, ain't to live is to come. Hush pack, I be feeling the compass. See these guys turn me into a monster. Hey, I'm a cowboy, can't stop, to live is to come. Hush pack, I be feeling the compass. See these guys turn me into a monster. I'm a cowboy, can't stop, can't stop. Hey, all that pain got me feeling jaded. Many to roll when to make it. Feel plugged into the mix, but lagging out before the update. Drop back in different times, same location.